Wholeness, everyone. Welcome to Runes of Silvertree. This is Silvertree here. I'm so excited for our little spiritual talks each Wednesday. Please forgive me before we get into it. Please forgive my congestion. I sound a little stuffy. Man, this month, okay, we moved. Let's see, yeah, we relocated to a new city, new place, new apartment, new everything, new area, to my hometown. And boy, oh boy, energies have been really odd this month. And so I find like it's just, you know, when I'm very sensitive to this, but like new timelines and mixing with old timelines, and then it triggers a lot of old stuff and that I've mentioned a little bit in my previous video from last week. But yeah, so please pardon. I've been going through the past week physically. I undercooked some mushrooms, and you can only imagine what happened with that. And then I caught a cold, so my immune system is getting stronger. But today I woke up with just a burst of inspiration, burst of motivation. I'm really focusing in on frequencies. That is in the title, okay? Frequency wars. Are you listening? Okay? Are you really listening? And I'm putting an emphasis on the listening part because the other day, and my partner and I, we noticed this together, and then we've been noticing it apart, okay? We were driving in a nearby town, and it's a small city. We live kind of right on the like the suburbs, so like right before you hit the countryside, okay? Because you have the countryside, then you have the suburbs, and then you have the inner city, okay? The bigger city where everyone lives very close together. And as we all know, we are under the 5G grid. I don't know the ins and outs. All I know is what it is, a general sense of what it is, okay? We went from 4G to 5G, right? Meaning we have these towers that give us faster speed with our technological devices, faster internet, faster Wi-Fi, faster this, faster that, more data, more. Just we're able to accumulate a lot more information in a much faster, more efficient way. Great, right? Okay, on one level, yes, you want that if you're like myself and you use these platforms, these technological platforms, social media platforms to share your art, share your creative content, all this other stuff. You need things that have efficient speed for you to produce your work and to share your work with the masses. Downside. So the other day, we're in the city, like literally in the heart of the city, and we're having a conversation, all right? And I'm sitting in the passenger seat, and all of a sudden I hear, and it's a high pitch. And I stopped in mid-sentence. I said, do you hear that? He said, yeah, I hear that. And I was like, that's the tower. These towers give off impulses. They give off certain frequencies. Now, this isn't a scare tactic. This isn't what's the word? What's that thing? Conspiracy theory? No, like frequencies are real. Radio frequencies are real. You know, frequencies are a thing, right? You go to the doctor, you get x-rays. Like it gives off a frequency that they can see the image, a clear image, right, of what's going on with the body. You're in your car and you turn to a station and the radio frequency comes in clearly. And then you have another station that it doesn't, it's weak, you can barely, it sounds all shh. scratchy, so you turn to another tune, right? Where there's no static and the frequency's clear, you can hear everything clearly, right? They're all around us. Everything's giving off frequencies. Your phone, your digital cameras, the towers, your internet, your Wi-Fi, machines, radiators, the things that keep your AC going. It's all mediating like energy and heat, all right? But in that moment, it dawned on me, right? Because there was the full moon last Saturday, and you know me and moon cycles, like there's portals that open and close, okay? Like clockwork every month. Like the sun, you know, has its own rotation, and it comes up every day and it goes down every day. So it seems, right? We rotate around the sun and we have these patterns, these cycles. But that was the first time I've ever was able to actually hear the the impulse or the pulse, or I don't even know what they call it. So we get home, and you know, I felt, I was like, you know, maybe we really need to get in tune, because even between us, there's been just a lot of disagreeable energies, a lot of angst, right? I mean, that always happens right before you move, and then right when you start to get settled in, you're lost, you have to learn new things and all this other stuff, get things registered and all that hoopla. So it's stressful. It can be a very stressful situation at times, right? And then he said, well, you know, I was standing next to this window, and right across our little driveway, there's also and it's a long extended pathway, okay? And there's a tower, and he could hear it. He said that the other day it went off. And I'm like, oh. I said, wow. And it had me think, you know, we've got to be sure that we're manipulating our own energies. Meaning you're doing your house, you're checking in with yourself. You're doing your house cleaning with your energy bodies and with your subtle bodies, right? And not just the energy part of yourself or the metaphysical part of yourself, but your own health. Your own health. Are you drinking enough water? Are you eating? How much processed foods are you eating? How often are you going out to eat? How often are you staying at home and making and creating your own alchemized food, right? What are you doing to make sure that you're manipulating and moving and shifting your energies to where you're staying balanced, right? Because from my understanding, people who are living right in the middle of these cities, and we almost did, we almost moved right into the heart of the city, because you know, this being a place that was my hometown, I wanted him to have the best. It's not a bad place. It really isn't. There's a lot going on, cultural anyway, and a lot of opportunities, and there's music, there's arts, there's this, there's that. However, the energy is dense. It's becoming a lot more dense, and it's much harder to kind of connect to source and to stick to your daily habits that work and that clear your energy. But we were pulled here. Our frequency was pulled here. Our energies were pulled here, and everything just aligned so well that we took this spot that's far, you know, farther away from the city, much closer to the countryside. So we're still part of the grid. I have my phone, and we have Wi-Fi set up, you know, and most people out in the countryside where I reside, they are also still very much part of the grid, but there's a lot of trees. I've also noticed where I live, the trees are a blanket. There's one classical station that we like to listen to and tune into, because I'm a classical musician, okay? I've studied classical music since I was 9-10 years old. Um, and I've been in the game for a long time, and so classical music is just something I can tune into those frequencies, because it's more in alignment, right? I haven't even studied the certain hertz, like the 432 hertz and all that. I haven't gotten into that world yet, to give you any specific interpretation of what all that means, but it's something about classical music where my partner and I love it. But it's a station that it doesn't come in clearly where we live ever since we moved here. And sometimes, like you have those radio stations or the waves that it bumps into other ones, and it does come in clearly once in a blue moon. But this specific station just does not come in very clearly at all. And I've noticed that where we live, there's an abundance of beautiful trees. It's heavily wooded areas. And so these trees act like they're a blanket, okay? They're like some kind of force field. And I've also noticed this within, because I'm a plant mommy. I love plants. We just moved, so you don't see them behind me yet. But plants can also create a bit of a force field, as well as crystals. I'm looking at we have a crystal grid here. And so crystals and plants, but plants specifically can create a bit of a frequency force field. So when you have a window, let's say you have windows, make sure that you can build a beautiful plant force field there, or a patio, anywhere that there's sunlight coming in through a window. Be sure to put some plants there. This is not going to keep this 5G from coming through the walls unless you're living in Adobe in the Southwest, in the middle of nowhere in the desert. Yes, I've lived in there, and it got to the point where we tried to have Wi-Fi. The waves weren't coming through. They couldn't come through. And this was an old Adobe, like the clay, okay? Like the real expensive architecture and structure. But yeah, so I've lived in spaces where I was way out in the countryside in the desert, and man, like you can feel the difference. You can hear, you can feel, your senses are activated in such a way where living like in an apartment complex or in the middle of the city, it can't compare, right? Living by water also helps with, and I mean very close to water, like you're like maybe a couple miles from a shoreline, okay, by a lake or by the sea, or the ocean, somewhere where there's that's a beautiful, very beautiful, but it's a strong, very powerful force field to kind of clear and kind of glaze over those types of frequencies. But be on the lookout and truly listen to what's in your neighborhood and how people act, okay? Because if you tune into the moon medicines, you'll know when those portals are open, people act very differently. When the new moon portals open, people tend to stay in more. People tend to stay to themselves, people are very reserved. I notice that I tend to want to clean a lot more during the new moon energy. Full moon energy, it's manifestation, right? Everything is amplified. People tend to go out dancing, partying, and drinking and they're very social, right? People tend to go out and want to do things during those times. And given now that I'm tuning more into the environment here and what they're doing with these towers, you gotta make sure that your daily energy habits are, number one, in alignment for you, because not everything works for everyone, okay? So number one, they're in alignment for you, you're consistent with them, and you do them, okay? Like you have to do your spiritual energy upkeep, because it's real. Like these radioactive devices that we use to do our business with technology, okay, it's a real phenomena, and you know, it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. There's so much happening and shifting, and with when it comes to technocracy, and that's a whole other subject. There's so many things I want to get into as far as spirituality, science, and technocracy. But that is going to be part of a much bigger project. And I cannot wait. I can't wait to share that with you all. And it's not going to be soon, but it's definitely going to be very, very, very close in the future. So thank you so much for tuning in. But what's most important than you watching this video right now is you tune into Source, you tune into you, listen. Just listen. Okay, because at first I thought it was just me, and I'm in my stuffy nose and my stuffed up ears. No. Literally, it's pay attention with your ears. Okay, use your inner ear, right? And use your inner sight, but most certainly really listen to how things are being manipulated around you. And if you're acting erratic, your family's acting erratic, there's a reason for it. Tune in. Thank you so much. Remember to expand your consciousness, evolve your human being, and embrace supreme love and guidance, which is Source. Thank you. See you soon.